Algebra 2 honors Cram, skills practice, Flashcard 2, rewrite expression using I, skill practice 2.6-10. All right, and I is the imaginary number such that I squared is equivalent to -1. And because no real number exists such that its square is equal to a negative number, the number I is not a part of the real number system, where I is the square root of -1. Okay, so the values of I to the n, this is I to the first, I to the second, and so on, repeat after every 4 powers of I. So we already squared away I and I squared. Now we have I to the third, that's -1 or negative times radical -1 or the square root of -1. And I to the fourth is negative or -1 times radical -1 times radical -1. And this entire expression is really equivalent to 1. Okay? Let me just illustrate that for you. All right, so this is equal to 1, positive 1, not -1. And so I to the fifth would repeat the cycle, and I to the fifth would take on the same value of I. What we're doing today, again, is we're writing let's get into the question with negative roots using I. So this is our expression that we have to rewrite. Okay, we have to reinterpret this in terms of I. And what you want to remember is that expressions with negative roots, they can all be rewritten for any positive number n, the principal square root of the number -n. So our n would be 45, our negative n would be -45, is defined by the square root of negative n equals I times the square root of n. All we did was we factored out the square root of -1, or you can say that you factored out I, okay? So this term is pretty straightforward. We don't have to do anything to it, but we can rewrite this portion of the term, okay? So we do an initial factoring into n and -1, and this yields I times the square root of 9 times 5 plus 21. And we went ahead again and factored 45 in terms of its perfect square and its imperfect square. So the final result is going to be 3i times the square root of 5 plus 21. We don't have to break down the square root of 5 because it's, an imperfect square. We usually don't analyze that unless we're specifically told to. And we know that 9 is a perfect square and simplifies to 3, so we can just carry out the 3. And the entire first expression is going to be 3i times the square root of 5 plus 21. Okay?